Hello and welcome to our neurology residency, Road to Neurology Residency podcast. I'm Mohammed Ahmed, and I will be your host for today. So I'm currently a fourth year medical student at Dow Medical College and a proud member of SIGN DMC. So SIGN DMC is the student interest group in neurology, Dow Medical College chapter. It is associated with the esteemed American Academy of Neurology. And we here at SIGN DMC, we aim to foster the collaboration and the various initiatives that we have to increase the interest and among the medical students and recent graduates. This podcast is actually one of those initiatives, and it's actually our second episode of the series. So before we begin, I'd like the president of SIGN DMC, Sayyida Tayyiba Rehan, to begin and you give ourselves a brief introduction of herself.
Hey everyone, hi Dr. Antonio. I'm Sayyida Tayyiba and I'm 2024 graduate from Dow Medical College and currently serving as the president of a student interest group in neurology. It's really an honor and a pleasure to host Dr. Antonio today in our episode 2. I hope all of our audience and all the students will be learning a lot from you and about the residency application process and what to do and what not to do. And I'm grateful to Dr. Antonio for taking out time to do this with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tayyiba. And now we move on to our honorable guest, Dr. Aileen Antonio, who is an associate professor at the Trinity Health Grand Rapids, and she's a neuro-ophthalmologist. So, Dr. Antonio, thank you for taking out time to join us for this podcast. We're really grateful for your time. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and your work?
For having me, Muhammad and Tayraba. So I am actually an associate program director for the neurology residency program. And it has been a long journey for me being an IMG myself from the Philippines. I did ophthalmology back in the Philippines, so ophthalmology residency. But since my first year of that residency, I knew I wanted to become a neuro-ophthalmologist. Landed the fellowship over at Michigan State University, stayed there for 5 years for the fellowship, and then became one of their neurology residents. And then now, so here I am.
That's a really great journey. I believe we'll start off with the questions now because I've got loads of them. So
Sure.
the first one that I'd like to begin with is when you're assessing applications of the match applicants and you're going through those applications, is there something that kind of clicks and makes you feel like this is something in a candidate that I want to meet or I want to interview this particular?
It's a tough position, reviewing all of these applications to be in that position because we get 1,000 and more applications and you have to be quick, right? In what are these things that would make one stellar, or what are the things that's already in the reject pile immediately? So on the plus side, multi-dimensional applicant is what we look for, especially for our program, because in our program, we believe in that holistic development of an individual towards their path in becoming a neurologist. So not only are stellar grades important, but at the same time, looking at the application that you have these humanistic qualities, that you regularly volunteer. So we actually look at how regular do you do your volunteering. It's not a one-off, but seeing how the development of that is throughout your medical school or even in pre-med, looking at your research background, if that is something that you're interested in, publications, things like that can definitely help towards creating a multi-dimensional application. Leadership would be another thing, as well as mentorship and teaching.
All right. So yeah, that was really insightful. Now, actually, this brings me to my next question, which is essentially the opposite. So would there be anything that on a profile or the CV personal statement of a candidate that you see as a red flag or something that you don't really appreciate, but candidates probably put it in there unknowingly, but you as a program director, associate program director, you feel that like probably that's not the best thing, like that's not the best thing to put in there.
Inconsistencies. Number one, inconsistencies. So because there are many parts of the application, whether it's in your resume or in your CFMG application or on the ACGME, and if there are inconsistencies there or fudging that is going on, that is something that raises a red flag. Some people may have done, for example, a rotation December 24 to January 25, and then they would say 1 year, 24 to 25. So that kind of fudging raises a red flag. Grammatical errors and spelling mistakes would be another one. So, like, sometimes you would think that these are minor and they're not going to notice these things, but this is your professional persona on paper, and applicants should have made the effort to really look at this. There is also that language that suggests to me that this wasn't written from the heart with sincerity, especially your personal statements, or if it was written by AI, makes a big difference as well. I am in favor of AI helping you craft your story, your statement. I'm okay with that. But there is that fine line of how much is AI, how much is you still, and going through that to just like sharpen it, make it better. So all of these things matter.
Okay, so yeah, that was really helpful. So you mentioned earlier about scores, research, and leadership. So how do you like balance these when assessing or evaluating a candidate?
It's the gestalt. I cannot explain it. It's the gestalt of things, and it's putting everything together. And some applicants may have, for example, let's talk about research. Some applicants may have a lot of case reports, but of course it would be weightier if you have a retro or a trial, right, or a review than just a case report. It also matters where these were presented and where these were published in terms of the weight of the journal as well. Repeat to me again the question, because that's like one aspect that was research.
Yeah, so it's like scores, research, and leadership. So how do you balance these?
The other thing that, again, we look for how you grow throughout your 4 years, right? Making sure that, were you consistent towards your journey developing yourself? So having just a 1 year of leadership or a month heading a small project is different from, look, you were a member in your first year med school. By second year, you tried being part of this committee. And then by your third year, now you're secretary. And then by your fourth year, now you're the president of the student council, so you can kind of see how the growth has been and how dedicated the student has been in developing himself or herself.
All right, thank you for explaining that. Moving on to the next question. So when it comes to ERAS, what are the most common mistakes that candidates make and you think like they can be easily avoided?
Again, grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, having AI override your own words and your own story. At the end of the day, this is you. You are presenting yourself, and no one can take away your story of why you want to be a neurologist. And that is personal, and it will ring true when we read it.
All right, thank you. So now about the interview season. So once the interviews start, like what can applicants do or like either during or after the interview to improve their chances?
Prep. So first of all, prep. Know the institution that you're applying for. Each institution would have its own strengths and its own weaknesses. So you have to find out which among these institutions would best fit you. If you are one for going into research, then you have to look for a program that is strong in research. If you are one who wants to have a very strong community neurology foundation, or one with a strong DEI flavor to it, then look at that. So it's always good to look at the mission vision statement of each hospital, each institution, and even the program, and then read up on the faculty and the attendings that you might be working with. So that is very important. There are common questions that you might ask and list them down in preparation for the interview. But knowing the specifics of each program, then you can tweak these a little bit. And that tells us that you're really interested. You did due diligence. You spent time looking into the program. That gives you an edge. During the interview, my gosh, if you have pets, lock them in a room away from you. I've had many interviews where suddenly the cat will be there or the dog will be barking in the background. And so make sure that all of these extraneous things that you can control them, because of course that leads to so professional atmosphere. Not being in the country might be a little bit difficult when it comes to bandwidth, internet connection, and things like that. So try and make sure that you have that. If not, we would always transition to a phone call. So make sure that the phone that you give is easily accessible to the interviewers in the United States. So a US number would always be helpful when it comes to that. Those are the quick ones that I can think of at the moment.
Because yeah, that was a really good perspective, especially for an IMG. So building on that, do you value thank you emails or other post-interview updates from candidates? And if so, what do you think is the right way to do them?
I believe in making sure that you develop relationships, right? Whether it's meeting people at the AAN meeting, whether it's through an email after the interview, and even participating in these second look activities if possible. And what's the term that I'm looking for? There's a template, right, that you use for your thank you emails, but making sure that you tweak that and say something that stood out to you about the program or the interaction that you had with that particular interviewer so that they can also remember you. That would be very important. I can't hear you.
Sorry, my mic was off. So I was saying like that was a really good piece of advice. Thank you for that. And regarding your program, so if someone doesn't have a direct link to your program, what's the best way for them to, kind of reach out before or during the match cycle?
So on our website for the program would be the link and the email to get in touch with our program coordinator. So it's all on the website.
All right, thank you. And another
And
question.
sorry, and it's also on the ACGME
All right.
portal.
All right, perfect. So another question regarding your program. What do you think makes your program unique, both in terms of the, academic training and the clinical exposure that residents get?
This is my favorite topic. So, of course, the primary goal is to make sure that when you graduate from our program, you're going to be an amazing neurologist. That's number one. But more importantly, we want to create humanistic and resilient neurologists. And all of these things are probably all of these different aspects of being a humanistic and resilient neurologist. Other programs definitely teach these different aspects that may contribute to molding such a neurologist, but we are very purposeful in integrating all of these. And we even offer an elective, a 2-week elective, so that we can really hone leadership skills and you find yourself throughout your journey as a neurology resident, as well as build all the skills that are necessary. Because a lot of these are taken for granted just because we are professionals, we are doctors. It's taken for granted that you have the leadership skills, that you know how to be resilient, that you know how it is to be an adult. But what people forget, and I know all of you know this, is that we are so siloed and we have such a narrow track, right? A narrow pathway as we go through med school. Because even in undergrad, you need to have had the best grades to get into med school. You need to have the best grades to get a residency program now. Like that has been goal, the carrot that's dangling in front of you. But we forget sometimes that we are surrounded by peers. We are surrounded by a team that can help support us. And how do you interact now in such a community to make sure that you deliver the best kind of care to your patients and that you are that kind of a neurology leader that can create systems changes that are needed by the community and by your patients. So all of these are integrated into our curriculum.
All right, so thank you for explaining that. Now, building on that, some like residents are looking for neurology in general, while some aim for, fellowships. So, how does your program support residents who are aiming for fellowships versus those that are planning for just general practice?
We support both kinds of pathways within our program. And again, bottom line, when you graduate from the program, the goal is for you to become an amazing generalist, right? You need to become an amazing neurologist who can practice in the rural area independently and handle all of those things that are expected out of a general neurology attending. Now, for fellowships, we also support that, and we are greatly growing right now. We have a vascular fellowship, an epilepsy fellowship, a sleep medicine fellowship. In the works would be a neuro-ophthalmology fellowship, a neuropal fellowship, a movement disorder fellowship, and a neurophys fellowship or a neuromuscular fellowship. So all of these are in the process of being developed. And then, so in-house, that's available, but also sometimes residents would want to look at other institutions and have their fellowships. So in another institution, because they want to go to another part of the country or to get a different flavor of learning, and that we're all in support of that. And we also provide the networking and the sponsorship that the resident would need.
All right, thank you for sharing that. So, we're reaching quite towards the end of the podcast, and I'd like to ask you, so if you could just give one piece of advice to the neurology applicants this year, what would it be?
Be yourself. Tell your story. Let your person shine through. Because at the end of the day, this would be the you that we're going to see every day. This would be the you that would shine through when things are darkest, when things are busiest. And we want to know that, and being honest and again, just showing us who you are would be the best way when you go through these interviews.
All right, thank you. So, just now, this is the very last question. So, for those who don't match, what's the smartest thing they can do before the next match cycle?
Try and look at your application again, see where the gaps could be, and then use maybe that year to fill those gaps. Maybe if there is a program that you really wanted to match with, reach out to the interviewers and ask them and tell them that, and be honest again and say that I really wanted and hope to match with your program. What do you think I could strengthen and work on this year for the next match cycle? And that kind of relationship building may even be something that would put you higher on the list or for the interviewers to remember you for next match cycles. So there's that. And of course, there's the post match. Sometimes we would, if there are institutions that don't match all positions, then there's that second round that can happen. as well. So make sure you answer all phone calls that come your way, answer those emails in a timely manner, that kind of thing.
So that was very helpful. Thank you for explaining all of the questions in detail. But can you please take over from here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dr. Antonio. That was really amazing and that was really helpful. And especially as one of the adult neurology applicant, I found it extremely helpful. And I hope that our audience will take notes from it. And so we will end this podcast on this note. But Dr. Antonio, I would request to stay for you to stay for 2 more minutes once we end this podcast. Okay. So everyone, we will be ending our episode 2 podcast here. Thank you so much, Dr. Antonio, for taking out time. If there is anything that you would like to share about Trinity Health Program with our audience or with Dow Medical College group, you can go ahead. Or if you have any questions regarding our group or students of Dow Medical College.
So at Trinity Health Grand Rapids, our neurology residency program, I think, again, the edge that we have is that we look at molding neurologists who will be resilient and who maintain that humanism side in medicine. Because at the end of the day, we chose this path because we want to serve and we want to make a difference. And we are all in support of that.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye. Take care. We'll end this podcast now here. All right. So